we have the wonderful Oluwapelumi Amanda Adeola.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you more about your journey, and I want to talk to you specifically about resilience. So before we get into your advice and your wisdom, which I know you have many pearls for us, let's reel it all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
When did you actually decide that you wanted to become a lawyer?
Okay. So I grew up in Nigeria. I was actually born in the north of Nigeria, Kaduna State precisely. And I remember growing up, and you watch TV and things like that, and you see all these, court TV programs where they're shouting "Order, court, all rise," and things like that. And I was a chatterbox, to be fair. And I remember my report card, and I've still got it because my mum gave it to me. And one of the teachers had written, "Pelumi is a good girl, she talks too much." And for me, wanting to be a lawyer kind of stems from that. And also I started to pick up on things as a child, what I would call injustice that I was seeing around me back home. And I wanted to do something about it. Something akin to you being a superhero but without a cape, just to be able to help people. And one particular one stood out for me. My mum used to do contracts for different companies, and you would tender, and she was doing cleaning contracts. So she would tender, and then obviously she would win. But you wouldn't get paid to buy all the products you needed. You would only get paid after the job. And I remember many a time that we would go with my mum, and we'd be sat in the car in the very hot sun of Kaduna State. My mum would go in to try and get her money, and they would keep telling her, "Madam, you have to come back. Madam, you have to come back." And there was nobody she could turn to, no court, no contract, nothing. And the injustice was just so stark.
Okay, and I love that there was that personal connection, I guess. It's what you were seeing in your day-to-day life, but then it inspired you to keep going further and pursue that in your career as well. So what would you say your next steps were once you realized that there should be a contract here that can be enforceable? What were your next steps to go on to college, go on to university, get your work experience, that sort of thing?
I relocated here, and then I went to college in East London. I did law A-levels, and then I went on to do my degree. My A-levels were not great, and at that point I actually thought that my dream was shattered and I would never get into university, but I got in through clearance, and it's not something that I hide. Ended up doing my degree at London Guildhall, which is now London Metropolitan University. And again, I came out with a 2-2, and I felt like my world was over and that my career wouldn't take off. I wouldn't be able to get into the law. But somehow, just continuing to go, having faith in myself and having my family say, of course, you wanted to do this. Your grades don't really determine what you can do and the knowledge that you've got. So you've got to keep going. So that really spurred me on to continue to push on. Throughout there was obstacles. Applying for training contract was an obstacle. I think I probably applied to over 100 firms, and I didn't get to look in. It was so difficult. But when I got in, I think it was that moment where you think, actually, I probably wouldn't have got one if it was not what I was meant to do. And that kind of gives you more of a driving force. Actually, this was meant to be. So regardless of all the rejections and the stress and the pain and the cry and the scream, we got there in the end because we just kept going.
And I feel like oftentimes when we're looking at people's stories, we focus a lot on the successes, right? But I want to pick apart some of the points of failure that you kind of just touched on, right? So you mentioned not necessarily doing as well in your A-levels as you would have hoped, and not knowing if you'd be able to go to university, but then going through clearance, and again at university, not necessarily getting the grades that you would have hoped for, right? And again thinking, actually maybe this dream is over because I don't have the qualifications that I would have wanted to have to be able to apply for this. And then again, you're applying for training contracts and you're applying for over 100, and again, you're getting the rejection. How did you keep that motivation going? That's a lot of times to face a setback, right?
I think this is probably the first time I'm going to say this. My parents are very religious. Faith plays a big part in, my upbringing. And they were very much of, they would pray about it. They would talk to Jesus, as I say to my colleagues. If anybody annoys me, I said, I'm going to talk to Jesus about you, so watch yourself now. And just keeping the faith that one day, one door will open, irrespective. The saying that our parents will always say, what's not for you will never pass you by. And that was sort of the watchword for my parents. And they would just keep encouraging you. And there were times when I wanted to give up. And there were times where you were meeting people that were not necessarily there to sow positive words into you and tell you, oh, perhaps the law is not for you.
Right.
Or maybe you're not just cut out for it. Maybe you should look for something else to do. And just trying to block out all those negativity.
Yeah.
Those were what helped. I'm not saying it was easy. It
Yeah.
wasn't. Absolutely hated it. I remember a time where after I finished my LPC, I was just at home, and my husband, now he was my partner then, would leave me and go to work.
Yeah.
And it would be like, don't worry, everything will be okay. You just keep applying. And once he leaves, it would be like my world has broken down.
Yeah.
Because it was just me again on that computer, sending those letters, sending those emails,
Yeah.
filling in those forms, but what would crying do for me if I don't keep going?
Yeah.
It wouldn't do anything. It would just cause me more grief, more pain, and would just beat me down to the point where I would start believing that actually I don't deserve to be in that profession.
Yeah. Having that growth mindset, there's going to be a number of times where things will not go your way.
Oh yes.
Sometimes it's because of you, sometimes it's not because of you. But it
That's right.
happens, right? And you have to know how to pick yourself up, especially in those moments, like you said, when it's just you by yourself, making those applications. All the people around you are going to be telling you you're great, and that's lovely. And that's
be a
right?
Yeah.
So that confidence, that self-belief, that growth mindset is really key and it's really important. And I think that's a key piece of advice to get out there today. So that's really helpful. Thank you. I want to fast forward a little bit. So after you've done your over 100 applications to get your TC, and you've been rejected many, many, many times, and then you've got your TC. Hooray! The journey doesn't stop there.
No.
Because you are now a partner, which means you
how
have worked very hard for many years to work your way up to that position, right? So what was that journey like for you? Because I think sometimes when you're applying, you can think it stops at the TC. Once you've got the TC, that's it.
Yes.
But that's not it.
So there were times where I felt like I was being boxed in and I needed to conform to a certain type of way.
Yeah.
And I did actually for quite some time because I just wanted to get my head down, get my job done, go home, do a good job, don't ruffle any feathers.
Yeah.
But who does that help? That's not being me. And I think the light bulb moment came when I thought, actually, this is who I am. Is either you take me or you don't like me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Marmite. Some people like it, some people don't. It's what it is. And being my true self, all of it, my Nigerian self, as my child would say, was really that moment in which things changed, where I was able to use my voice after a few years of experience. I understand that when people are still young in the profession, you just want to keep your head down. You don't want to ruffle any feathers, and I get that. But I think once you start to, grow in your career, you really need to be able to say, actually, this is what I want to do in my career. This is where I want to be with it.
Yeah.
What can I do to get there? Speak to the people that you've got working with you who are in the positions to make things happen for you and say, right, actually, in a couple of years' time, I would like to be a partner.
Yeah.
What do I need to be doing? What kind of courses do I need to be doing? What do I need to be, in terms of leadership, etc.? Can you just help me understand and put me forward for the right things?
Yeah.
And that will put you in good stead when you're having that conversations. It's the same thing with if you decide that you want to do a master's, for example. You're going to do your research, won't you, about which university to go to. It's that same way. What path do I need to go to get to the next step in my career?
Yeah.
And that was essentially what I did by just saying, actually, I've worked so hard all this time. I would like to be made a partner in a year.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be doing? And just getting on and doing those things. Seeking out the right mentors is very important.
Yeah.
I have a lot of mentors, as you know, and mentees. And those mentors are there in relation to different aspects of my life, and I can reach out to them for various things. But people get too scared to ask about being a mentor, about somebody being a mentor. They also think that when you get to a certain level in your career, you don't need a mentor anymore. I'm sorry, I say a mentor also needs a mentor. So don't think that because you're 20 years qualified, whatever, you don't need that sounding board. It's important that you have that. And for me, I'm really grateful to all my mentors who have called my name in places where I'm not.
Yeah.
I was here yesterday doing a lot of things, but that's because people have called my name and said, actually, she can do that. And those people are important to have.
And with your, like when you made that decision, so you woke up one day and you said, okay, in a year, I'm gonna make it to partner, right? First question, did that happen? Were you able to become partner within a year?
17 months, I believe.
Okay, not too far away.
Yeah.
I would put that in the year.
I think it was about 17 months.
That works
Yeah.
well. So
I started then in 2018. I was a partner around the end of 2019, I believe.
okay, so along that process, that journey, so between 2018 to the end of 2019, right? Were there any setbacks or any kind of rejections or any areas where you felt like you had to really draw on that skill of resilience to keep pushing you forward so that you could get to that end goal that you set for yourself?
So there were some changes that I really wanted to happen
Yeah.
within the organisation. And if you think about it, I'm a new person coming in telling you actually you're doing all these things wrong and I want you to change. And it's quite difficult, it's quite a challenge. And that was a bit of a difficult one. And I thought, they're not listening. I don't think I really want to be here because I need them to change these things to make it more of a different place to work, as it were. And that was a difficult, hurdle to overcome.
Yeah.
But having those constructive conversations and sitting down and actually having the people that hold the purse strings being quite receptive after a while to say, actually, maybe things do need to change. What are your ideas?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't agree with a few of them. And accepting that when you have ideas, you have to also be able to bend. Or your ideas may not be accepted by everybody.
Yeah.
And when you sit down with a list of 10, if you can achieve 5, hooray,
Yeah.
celebrate it, and then just keep it pushing. And that's what it was. There were things that I wanted them to change for the organisation, and we sat down, we talked about it, and a few of them were implemented, and I was really pleased with that.
Yeah.
But it's just trying to take ownership of what type of leader you want to be.
That is so profound to me, and I guess the penultimate question I want to touch on is more about your partner role, and it's about rejection that you can face on a day-to-day basis in your partner role. So, for example, as a partner, you pitch to clients, right, or you have to get fees from clients. So there are multiple times in a day, in a week, in a month where you can hear no. But as the leader, as the person who's supposed to be taking control and delegating down to the associates, delegating down to the paralegals, how do you navigate that? How do you manage that on a day-to-day basis? Because there's a lot of rejection that you might have to deal with, and you're the leader. We're all looking to you.
You have to see it both ways. So as a partner, I've got to look at it from a business perspective, why we can't do certain things. But then as a team leader, I also have to think, hang on a minute, they've worked really hard, I would like them to have X, Y, Z and the other. And it's just having that fine balance. But I think when your team knows that you've got their back, no matter what you go to tell them, they will accept it from you because they know you would have fought. There is a lot of no's you receive, obviously. Clients, difficult conversations with clients, difficult conversations, with the team. But you've got to handle it with respect and grace. Because you want the same to be extended to you. And your team will respect you more if you are open to them.
And I love that. And before we end, I do have a selection of questions for you. So I hope you can read my handwriting.
Okay.
All you have to do is
Are you shuffling and I have to pick one
shuffling,
random?
so that you can put the question.
Okay.
And then you just
I'm
read
not
it out
nervous at all.
and you answer the question.
Okay.
None of the questions are bad.
Okay. I'll go with this one. Okay. Oh God, apple juice or orange juice? Apple juice any day.
I love that. This is why I like you.
I do like orange juice.
Someone with sense. Apple juice all the way. Yes.
I saw something online where somebody said, why do the British people say orange juice with bits in? What is bits?
That's not cute. That's not nice.
I don't know. No, apple juice definitely, but it has to be 100% not from concentrate.
Yes, I like that.
I'm not doing that.
Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Chronicles of a Fabulous Lister. I'm on LinkedIn with my full name, Oluwapelumi Amanda Adeola. Firm's website is also there, but you can contact me on Twitter as well. I think it's Amanda Adeola. So yes, do get in touch.